सत्सङ्गत्वे निस्सङ्गत्वं निस्सङ्गत्वे निर्मोहत्वं निर्मोहत्वे निश्चलतत्वं निश्चलतत्वे जीवन्मुक्तिः पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम् इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरा।
श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरु परंपरां। नारायण व्यक्त संभवं खण्डस्यान्तस्त्रिमे लोका सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी। श्री भगवान् उवाच इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय क्षेत्रमित्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः। We have seen the shloka 24 where 3 means to attain the ultimate liberating knowledge. Moksha jnanam was stated in this shloka. Dhyanena atmani pashyanti kechid atmanam atmana anye sankhyena yogena karma yogena chapare. So 3 means were mentioned. One is dhyana yoga. That is, here Bhagavad Gita himself has defined that continuous contemplating on the tattva without break. That is called dhyana. Then Sankhya yoga is the vichara. It is of the nature of discrimination between the real and the unreal, the atma and anatma. So in those so many ways that discrimination will also give one the ultimate knowledge. Then karma yoga. So karma yoga is something which is very, very important for both dhyana yoga and sankhya yoga. So it should not be taken to be a direct means to knowledge, because karma yoga gives chitta shuddhi, and through that a person enters dhyana yoga or sankhya yoga. In fact, as our acharyas have said, even though such means are mentioned as distinct with different names in the Gita Shastra and various other places, it should not be thought that they are all independent means. So the acharyas, out of compassion and out of their own experience, they have stated that there will have to be a combination of these 3. It is not that these 3 are watertight compartments. There has to be a combination of these 3. And that is what is going to be really helpful. So, dhyanam without vichara is also not of real use. And vichara also without nididhyasanam also will not be of use. Naturally, karma yoga also without going through dhyana yoga and sankhya yoga, that will also be incomplete. As Swami Paramananda would say that dhyana yoga or sankhya yoga are impossible without karma yoga, and karma yoga is incomplete without dhyana yoga and sankhya yoga. So even here, when I say all, we have to take that there has to be a judicious combination of these means. That is what is going to be really helpful. So here now we go on to the next shloka. अन्ये त्वेवम् अजानन्तः श्रुत्वा अन्येभ्य उपासते तेऽपि च अतितरन्त्येव मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः. There are some others who do not know anything about dhyana yoga or sankhya yoga or even karma yoga. They are totally dependent upon the guru in whom they have surrendered, and the guru will instruct them, you do this, and they will simply carry out that instruction. They will not ask questions. They will not try to look for helps. They are totally dependent upon the Guru's instructions, and they carry it out with utmost diligence and faith. So that's what this shloka says. Anyetu evam ajanantaha shrutva anyebhya upasate. They hear, they get instructions from the Acharya, and then they do as they have been told to asked to do. Tepi cha atitantyeva. So the Bhagavan says that even such people will ultimately attain to liberation. They cross over the samsara. And Bhagavan says, gives them a name, Shruti Parayanaha. Shruti is actually not Veda here. It is taking instructions from others and taking that instructions as the supreme. So the words of the Guru is the supreme for them. So that is the kind of bhakti they have got in the Guru. In fact, it should not be thought that the earlier means like Dhyana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, and Karma Yoga are independent of Guru's grace. No, even there that is required. So in the Bhashya, Bhagavad Gita says, Anyetu Eshu Vikalpeshu Anyatamo Tamenapi Evam Yathoktam Atmanam Ajanantaha. So there are some people who are not able to get into sadhana or progress in sadhana in any of the three means mentioned in the previous shloka. So for them, there is this method. Anyebhyaha Acharyebhyaha Shrutva. Anyebhyaha is Shrutva Anyebhyaha. That's what in the shloka. That Anya is actually Acharya. So Shrutva Anyebhyaha Acharyebhyaha Shrutva Idameva Chintayata Iti Uktaha. So they have been instructed by the Acharya, and Bhagavad Gita is articulating that Idameva Chintaya. So you contemplate on this alone, or you do this alone. So you do this kind of practice alone. So that is the way the Acharya instructs such people. So iti uktaha upasate shraddha-Dhanaha santaha chintayanti. So they have extreme faith in the words of the Guru, and they carry out the instructions of the Guru, and they ultimately succeed in crossing over samsara. Tepi cha atitarantyeva atikranantyeva mrityuyuktam samsaram ityetate. So the shloka says that they will also cross over death. So by saying they cross over death, it is not that they will be alive forever. No, that is not the idea. What it means is the samsara is characterized with death. So punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So that is the way of the samsara. So they will cross over death. So that's what is meant by liberation. Prityuktam samsaram ityatate. Shruti parayanaha. Shruti shravanam param ayanam gavanam mokshamarga pravrtau param sadhanam yeshamte shruti parayanaha. So shruti parayanaha defined this way. Shruti is shravanam. It is not that Veda shravanam or Veda adhyanam. No, that's not the thing here meant. Instead, hearing the instructions from the Guru, shravanam, param ayanam. That is the supreme method to means to liberation. Param ayanam gamanam mokshamarga pravrtau. So that is the way one has to go in the path of liberation. Param sadhanam yesham te shruti parayanaha. So for them, this hearing the instructions of the elders or the gurus and then carrying it out is the sole sadhana for them. That is the highest sadhana for them. That's how they regard it also. Only then with such feeling, with such regard, if they carry it out, they are sure, they are certain to succeed. Shruti parayanaha kai kevala paropadesha pramanaha. Very nice. They kevala paropadesha pramanaha. For them, swayam vivekarahitaha iti aviprayaha. They don't have the intellect to think on them by themselves. So they totally depend upon the Guru's words, and they carry it out to the ultimate. Kevala paropadesha pramanaha swayam vivekarahitaha iti aviprayaha. Kimu vaktavyam pramanam priti swatantraha vivekinaha mrityum atitaranti iti aviprayaha. So this statement of this Gita is implicit with this statement, or it implies that what need to say when such people who are totally dependent on somebody else's instructions and without questioning or without going to any other path by themselves, they attain the supreme. What to say of those people who are capable or who are efficient enough to search for various proper means to attain the samsara. So here, in this case also, it's not that they don't require a guru. No, that's not the way. But the instructions or the effort of the guru will not be too much. Whereas, in the case of the other type of people, Shruti Parayanaha, effort of the Guru will be very, very high or more. Whereas here, it is enough if they have a Guru and the Guru indicates to them the path of moksha. That is enough for these people because they are endowed with more capacity to discriminate, compare and analyze and all that. So they have got that capacity. So such capacity is not being centered here. It is definitely praised. Kimu vaktavyam pramanam prati swatantraha vivekinaha mrityum atitaranti iti abhiprayah. So this kimu vaktavyam is what the key in this shloka. When people who are dependent on somebody else's instructions, they themselves attain to the Supreme, what need to be said about the others who are not, who are independently, they are able to walk the path of sadhana. By independent also, we have to remember that it is on the Guru's instructions and margadarshanam, that is the way he guides them. That is important here. But then here also, it's not that they can do away with the intervention or the role of the Guru. So even they definitely require the instructions of the Acharya and the guidance from him. Next shloka, Bhagavad Gita introduces this way, Kshetrajneshwara ekatva vishayam jnanam moksha sadhanam yajnatva amritamashnute ityuktam. Tate hetoho iti tadhetu pradashanartham shlokaha arabhyate. So in the some few slokas before, in the 12th sloka exactly, it was stated that Kshetrajna Ishvara ekatvam jnanam. That is that knowledge which has for its content the identification or the non-difference of the Kshetrajna and Ishvara. So here Kshetrajna means Jiva, Ishvara is Brahman. And here Ishvara is not Saguna Ishvara, but it is Nirguna Brahman. So Kshetrajna Ishvara ekatva vishayam jnanam. So the jnanam is characterized by the realization of the identity between the Jiva and Ishvara. There is a pure consciousness that is Jiva and pure consciousness that is Ishvara. So in such case, the upadhis, or the attributes, in both cases, that is with respect to Jiva and with respect to Ishvara, they have to be negated or discarded, and the pure consciousness that remains over is to be retained. So that there is a prakriya also which is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana or Jahadajaha Lakshana in the Shastram. So Kshetrajna ekatva vishayam jnanam moksha sadhanam yajnatva amritamashnute ityuktam. So in the shloka number 12, it was stated that once a person gets this realization, he becomes Brahman alone. He becomes immortal. Immortal in the sense, not that he will be living forever in this body-mind complex. No, that's not the idea. The idea is that he will never cease to be as the Atman. Here also we can remember the shloka in the Gita, 2nd chapter, 2.16. Nasato vidyate ataha. So there also it has been very nicely stated. And ubhayoropi drishtovantaha anayoho tattvadrishtibihi. So Bhagavan himself has clearly stated that the knowledge that Brahman or Atman does not cease to be, that is, the Brahman or Atman will never cease to exist. That knowledge and the knowledge that the Abrahma, that is Anatma, that is the world or the cosmos or the entire creation, is not having any existence at all, really. So it is only an appearance, but not a reality. So that is this twofold knowledge is required for a person to be qualified for liberation. So here in this shloka also it is stated, the same thing is stated here, Kshetrajna ekatva vishayam tad hetu pradashanartham tad kasmat hetoho iti tad hetu pradashanartham shlokaha. So why is it stated that this kind of jnanam, that is the identification between the Jiva and Ishvara, why is it given so much of prominence or premium in this Gita Shastra. For that, the answer is in the next shloka, coming the shloka that we are now taking up. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetragna sanyogat tadvidhi bharatashava. So in the Avatarika Bhagavad Gita is said that kasmat hetoho iti tad hetu pradarshanaartham shlokaha arabhyate. Why indeed the Gita Shastra insists upon this kind of knowledge for liberation. So that's being stated here in this shloka. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetragna sanyoga tadvidhi bharatashava. So whatever is coming out as creation, that creation, and here especially what is meant is the jivas. So by sthavara we mean the plant life, vegetation and all that which stays put on the ground with their roots very deep, running very deep. They don't move from one place to another. Whereas the jangama is the kind of jivas which can move from one place to another. And in that case category, humans, animals, birds, devas, all of them come. Kshetra kshetragna sanyoga tadvidhi bharatashava. So whatever occurs in this creation is because of the coming into contact of the kshetra and kshetragna. Kshetra kshetragna. Kshetra is the inert principle and kshetragna is the sentient principle. So only by a wrong or a erroneous identification of these two, to the extent of that, the difference between these two is also forgotten. So that is the idea. So all that is stated to be the result of the coming together of the kshetra and kshetragna. That is the sentient principle and the insentient prakriti. These two coming together in some fashion is the cause of samsara. That is the message of this shloka. So Bhagavad Gita says here, Yavat yatkinchite sanjayate samutpadyate sattvam vastu kim avisheshena netya. So whatever things come into being, samutpadyate sattvam vastu. Sattva means vastu. Sattva in this case doesn't mean sattva just guna. That triguna sattva is not mentioned here. The word sattvam has got another meaning which just simply means object or something. So netya sthavara jangamam cha kshetra kshetragna sanyogate yate tat jayate ityevam vidhi janihi bharatashva. So the coming into being of the moving and unmoving beings is due to this wrong identification between the Purusha and Prakriti, Kshetragna and Kshetra. Kshetra means Prakriti, Kshetragna is the Purusha, the sentient and the insentient. Vidhi janihi bharatashava ityevam tat jayate ityevam vidhi janihi bharatashava. So Kshetra kshetragna sanyoga tat jayate. So whatever is in the creation, like body mind complexes of the moving jivas and the unmoving or the plant life. So all that is because of the wrong identification between the kshetra and kshetragna. That is this sentient principle and insentient principle. And we have also to remember that creation can take place only when these two come together. That is, the sentient and the insentient, only when they come together alone, creation can take place. If they don't come together at all, there can't be any creation at all. So that is the take from this shloka. Then Bhagavad Gita enters into a discussion on what kind of identification is this. We have known that it is a wrong identification between the Purusha and Prakriti. Bhagavad Gita now embarks upon a vichara on that. Very interesting. Katpunaha ayam kshetra kshetragnayoho sanyogaha avipletaha. So in the shloka it has been said that the contact, sanyoga is a type of contact where there are two physical objects involved, and the physical contact brings about a kind of a fusion or a conjunction of these two. So that is what is meant by this sanyoga, the word sanyoga here. Kapunaha Kshetrajnayoho sanyogaha abhipetaha. So what indeed is Bhagavan meaning by saying this word, that the Kshetra and Kshetrajna come together. And Bhagavad Pada now very nicely demonstrates how that coming together itself is not possible. न तावत् रज्ज्वा घटस्य अवयवसंश्लेष द्वारकः सम्बन्धविशेषः संयोगः क्षेत्रेण क्षेत्रज्ञस्य सम्भवति आकाशवत् निरवयवत्वात्. So Bhagavad Pada says that this coming together of the kshetram and the kshetrajna, this is something like the tying the pot with a rope. So here we can imagine a situation where there is a pot. It could be a metallic pot also in the vicinity of a well. And to draw the water from the well, a person has to use the pot, but then he can't reach the pot to the water because it's very, very low level. So he has to definitely tie the pot to a rope and then insert the pot into the well. Only then he can get the water. So the tying of the rope around a pot is what is meant by sanyoga. Bhagavad Pada gives an example of that. That is, here the pot is also a physical object and the rope is also a physical object. So the tying the pot with the rope is a physical contact between the rope and the pot. So that is what is sanyoga. The word sanyoga straight away means that only, that kind of contact only, physical contact between two objects. न तावत् रज्ज्वा इव घटस्य अवयवसंश्लेषद्वारकः सम्बन्धविशेषः संयोगः. So here the Shastrakaras, whenever they have to define something, they do in such a perfect way that they use the terminologies and the process and the correct order of these sequences of the sequence of these terminologies and all that. So here Bhagavad Pada says that the contact between the rope and the pot is possible only when both the rope and the pot are made of parts. So only when in an object which is made of parts, there can be various parts of the body, parts in the body. So like for example in the pot, there is a standard definition of pot. Kambugriwadiman gataha. So Kambugriva, the Kambu is the neck part of it. So it's kind of a long neck, and Griva is neck actually. Then Udara, Prithnodara, that is another definition. It has got a belly also. So we can imagine that there are physical features to this pot, and there are parts in the pot, and so also in the rope also there are parts. So the rope coming together or contacting a pot in this way, tying the pot with a rope, will definitely involve the contact of some parts of the pot with some parts of the rope. So in here the condition is that both the objects should be made of parts. Savayava dravyam. That's how it is stated. Kapunaha ayam kshetra kshetrajnayo sanyoga. Na tavat rajva iva ghatasya avayava samshlesha dvarakaha. Avayava is parts. Samshlesha is the contact. So the coming together of certain parts of one object and certain parts of the other object physically contacting is called sanyoga. Sambandha visheshaha, it is one kind of contact between these two, connection between these two objects. Sanyogaha kshetrena kshetrajnasya sambhavati. This kind of a physical contact cannot happen between the sentient principle and the insentient principle, that is the kshetrajna and the kshetra. It's not possible because Bhagavad Gita gives the reason, akashavate niravayavatvad, because kshetrajna tattva, that is the pure consciousness, that is all pervading, like, and extremely subtle, like the ether or akasha space, so that there are no parts at all for that. So only when there are parts in that kshetrajna, it might be possible for a contact with a kshetram, that is the physical insentient object. So since our Brahman itself or Atma itself is of nature that it is all-pervading and it is pure consciousness, extremely subtle, it's impossible for Atman to come into contact, come into contact, a physical contact, definitely, because Atman does not have parts at all. It is all-pervading. So Akashavate, that's the example, analogy, Akashavate, Nirabhayavatvad. It is free from any parts at all. Abhayava is part and Nirabhayava is partless. Then he is considering the second type of contact. Napi samavaya lakshanaha tantu patayoriva kshetra kshetripnayoho itaretra karyakarana bhavana karyakarana bhava anubhivamat iti uchate. So here there is another kind of contact. There the contact is not between two different objects, but it is one object transforming into a different object. In the sense, that's why this example is given. Tantu patayoriva. So the pata is the cloth. Tantu is the thread. So the thread and the cloth, they are not two different items, but the thread alone becomes cloth through a process of weaving. Even the weaving, many single or different or individual threads are brought together. They are knit they are sewed or a new knit in a particular way, and to bring out the effect called cloth. So in the Shastram, the tantu pata, the tantu is the thread and the pata is the cloth. Between these two, there is a karya karana bhava. Karyam is the pata and karana is the tantu. So tantu is the cause and effect is the cloth. So can we say that the contact between the kshetra and the kshetragna is of this type? No, that is also is not possible, because Bhagavad Gita gives the reason. If we have not, the Shastram does not accept that the kshetragna is the cause and kshetram is the effect. So that kind of contact between the cloth and the pot. Actually, between the cloth and the pot, it's not a kind of contact. In English, there is a word, inhering. The cloth is inherent, or the thread is inherent all over the cloth. So that is the idea. So here, that kind of thing also is not possible, because the Shastram does not say that the kshetragna is the cause and the kshetram is the effect. That kind of relationship is also not possible. Contact is also not possible. So Sanyoga is the physical contact, and Samavaya is the inherent. That is the clay becoming a pot and the threads becoming a cloth. So these two are analyses given for this kind of Samavaya. So kshetra kshetragnayoho vishaya vishayanoho Dina subhavayoho itaretra Dharmadhyasa lakshanaha sanyogaha kshetra kshetragna swarupa viveka abhava nibandhanaha rajya shuktikadinam tad viveka jnana abhavat adhyaropita sarpa rajatadi sanyogavate. So he is saying now that the contact or the coming together of the kshetram and the kshetragna, that is the insentient principle and the sentient principle, that is consciousness, is of the nature of taking the rope to be a snake or a shell to be a silver. So that Rajasarpa, this drama, Adhyasa example is the one which characterizes the coming together of the Atma and the Anatma. So the Atma is taken to be the Anatma, and the Anatma is taken to be the Atma. That Anyoni Adhyasa is what is meant here. And here in these lines, Bhagavad Gita is very clearly annotating the Adhyasa Bhashya. So for those who have read the Adhyasa Bhashya, will immediately recognize these words also here. Vishaya Vishayinoho, there also. Yushmadasmat Pratyaya Gocharayoho, Vishaya Vishayinoho, Tama Prakashati Virudha Subhavyoho, there also that Vishaya Vishayinoho is there. Vishaya is object, Vishaya is the subject. So the subject and the object are definitely two different, definitely different from each other. But yet the subject and object are coming into a kind of erroneous, becoming one. Erroneously, they become one. So that is what is adhyasa. So bhinna subhavayoho, they are of different characteristics altogether, like light and darkness. There is a tama prakashadati is given in the adhyasa bhashya. Itaretara tad dharma adhyasa lakshanaha. Itaretara tad dharma adhyasa. Here also it's very interesting. Itaretara is the kshetrajna, that is the principle, consciousness principle, takes its or it comes to identify itself as the kshetram, that is the body-mind complex, and also on the other side, to complete the adhyasa, the body-mind complex is taken to be the atma. So the atma is taken to be the anatma, body-mind complex, and the body-mind complex is taken to be the atma. So this kind of anyonya adhyasa, that's what is called itaretra adhyasa. And here also, as we have seen earlier, there is a dharma adhyasa, there is the dharmi adhyasa first and then the dharma adhyasa. So the dharmi is the entity and dharma is the attribute of that entity. So itaretra dharma adhyasa lakshanaha sanyogaha, that kind of a contact, sanyoga again, that word is used here because that word is used in this shloka also, sanyogaha, kshetra kshetrajna swarupa viveka abhava nibandhanaha. So there also avivekat. So there are also avivekena in the adhyasa bhashya, this word is used there. That is, without discriminating, due to the lack of discrimination between the anatma and the atma, is what is this adhyasa. That's why the adhyasa takes place. So kshetra kshetrajna swarupa viveka abhava nibandhanaha. So not knowing what exactly is the kshetram and what exactly is the kshetrajna, without that knowledge, with that knowledge lacking, a person comes to take the kshetrajna to be the kshetram and the kshetram to the kshetrajna. If that knowledge about their independent or individual characteristics or the individual nature was known, was there, this kind of a coming together would not take place at all. So iti uchyate kshetra kshetrajnayoho vishay vishayinoho bhinna subhavayoho itaretara tad dharma adhyasa lakshanaha sanyogaha kshetra kshetrajna swarupa viveka abhava nibandhanaha. This happens because of the discrimination between the kshetra and the kshetrajna, the nature of the kshetra and the kshetrajna. Further, the analogy is rajju shuktikadinam. Rajju is the substratum rope, shukti is the clay, is the shell, that is also substratum on which the adhyasa, that is superimposition, takes place. That viveka jnana abhavat, that is, without knowing exactly what is a rope. And at that stage, it's not that the person doesn't know what a rope is, but in that junction, he fails to recognize what is in front of him when a rope is there as rope. He doesn't recognize it as a rope because of some defects there. It could be a defect of improper lighting or insufficient lighting, or his eyesight might be defective, or he might be in some confused state where he is not paying attention to what is in front of him. These causes can be there. So, Rajyashuktikadinam tad viveka jnana bhavate adhyaropita sarpa rajatadi sanyogavate. So, because of not knowing exactly what that object in front is, and as a result of that, taking that object to be different from that object. That is, taking that object to be as something which is different from that object. That is, a rope is taken to be a snake, the shell is wrongly taken to be a piece of silver there. So, and that is that kind of sanyoga. That is the sanyoga here, the contact between the substratum and this superimposed entity. Here also, this is not a real physical contact because that superimposed entity is not there at all really. Whereas the real entity there is the substratum. But then a person imagines the substratum to be something else. So that something else, there is no snake at all. So we can never say that the snake and the rope are connected to each other, or the rope or the snake is lying on the rope. No, that kind of thing is not at all there because the snake is purely a product of imagination, whereas the rope is there in front of him as a physical object. So here we end this session. There is somewhat passages here in this Bhashyam. Shastram Sharira Mimamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santume Janma Janmani Vidyaviri Sampannam Vetaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvagnim Vidushekara Bharati.